guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very Halloween themed video for you. If you watched my channel last year, then you may have seen my spooky stories that I did, and I'm doing it again this year. Before we get into that, I would like to welcome anyone who's new to my channel. I do tons of different videos. I do unboxings, I do a candle review series, I talk about topics that are on my mind. I also do thrift hauls, witchy hauls, stuff like that. If anything like that sounds interesting to you, please subscribe down below. Right now, because it is October, I'm doing a bunch of fall content, including like Halloween stuff, spooky stuff. If you're interested in that as well, please subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. If you saw my recent Halloween haul, I picked up a couple books, so today's story is going to come from one of those. This one is from the Scary Stories 3 book. This is More Tales to Chill Your Bones, and they are collected by Alvin Schwartz. The story I'm going to read to you guys today is called Maybe You Will Remember. And if you guys are interested in these books at all, I would do my best to find one for you, and I will link it down below. I did get this from a resale shop of sorts that sells books, so I can't guarantee you'll get it as cheap as I did. I believe I paid $3 for this book, but I will do my best to find you guys a good deal on these, and I will link that down below. Maybe You Will Remember. Mrs. Gibbs and her 16-year-old daughter Rosemary arrived in Paris on a hot morning in July. They had been on vacation and now were returning home. But Mrs. Gibbs did not feel well, so they decided to rest in Paris for a few days before going on. The city was crowded with tourists. Still, they found a place to stay in a good hotel. They had a lovely room overlooking the park. It had yellow walls, a blue carpet, and white furniture. As soon as they unpacked, Mrs. Gibbs went to bed. She looked so pale that Rosemary asked to have the hotel's doctor examine her. Rosemary did not speak French, but fortunately the doctor did speak English. He took one look at Mrs. Gibbs and said, "Your mother is too sick to travel. Tomorrow I will move her to a hospital, but she needs a certain medicine. If you go to my home for it, it will save time." The doctor said he did not have a telephone right now. Instead, he would give a note to Rosemary for his wife. The hotel manager put Rosemary in a taxi, and in French told the driver how to find the doctor's house. "It will take only a little while," he told her. "The taxi will bring you back." But as the driver slowly drove up one street and down another, it seemed to take forever. At one point, Rosemary was sure that he had gone down the same road twice. It took almost as long for the doctor's wife to answer the door, then get the medicine ready. As Rosemary sat on a bench in the empty waiting room, she kept thinking, "Why can't you hurry? Please hurry." Then she heard a telephone ring somewhere in the house. The doctor had told her he didn't have a telephone right now. What was going on? They drove back as slowly as they had come, crawling up one street and down another. Rosemary sat in the back seat filled with dread, her mother's medicine clutched in her hand. Why was everything taking so long? She was sure the taxi driver was going the wrong direction. "Are you going to the right hotel?" she asked. He didn't answer. She asked again, but still didn't reply. When he stopped for a traffic light, she threw open the door and ran from the cab. She stopped a woman in the street. The woman did not speak English, but she knew someone who did. Rosemary was right. They had been driving in the wrong direction. When she finally got back to the hotel, it was early evening. She went up to the desk clerk who had given them their room. "I'm Rosemary Gibbs," she said. "My mother and I are in room 505. May I please have the key?" The clerk looked at her closely. "You must be mistaken," he said. "There is another guest in that room. Are you sure you're in the right hotel?" He turned to help someone else, and she waited until he was finished. "You gave us that room yourself when we arrived this morning," she said. "How could you forget?" He stared at her as if she had lost her mind. "You must be mistaken," he said. "I have never seen you before. Are you sure you're in the right hotel?" She asked to see the registration card they had filled out when they arrived. "It's June and Rosemary Gibbs," she said. The clerk looked in the file. "We have no card for you," he said. "You must be in the wrong hotel." "The hotel doctor will know me," Rosemary replied. "He examined my mother when we arrived. He sent me for medicine she needs, and I want to see him." The doctor came down the stairs. "Here's the medicine for my mother," Rosemary said, holding it out to him. "Your wife gave it to me." "I have never seen you before," he said. "You must be in the wrong hotel." She asked for the hotel manager who had put her in the cab. Surely he would remember her. "You must be in the wrong hotel," he replied as well. "Let me give you a room where you can rest. Then maybe you'll remember where you and your mother were staying." "I want to see our room," Rosemary said, raising her voice. It was room 505, but it was nothing like the room she had remembered. It had a double bed, not twin beds. The furniture was black, not white. The carpet was green, not blue. There was someone else's clothing in the closet. The room she had knew vanished. and so had her mother. "This is not our room," she said. "Where is my mother? What have you done with her?" "You are at the wrong hotel," the manager replied patiently, as if he were speaking to a small child. Rosemary asked to see the police. "My mother, our things, the room, they have all disappeared," she told them. "Are you sure you're in the right hotel?" the police asked. She went to the embassy for help. "Are you sure this is the right hotel?" they asked as well. Rosemary thought that she was losing her mind. "Why don't you rest here for a while?" they said. "Then maybe you'll remember." But Rosemary's problem was not her memory. It was what she didn't know. What happened to Rosemary's mother? When the hotel doctor saw Mrs. Gibbs, he knew at once that she was about to die. She had a form of the plague, a dread disease that killed quickly and caused frightening epidemics. If the word got out that the woman had died of the plague in the heart of Paris, there would be a panic. People in the hotel and elsewhere would rush to escape. The doctor knew what the hotel owners expected. He was to keep the case a secret, otherwise they would lose lots of money. To get Rosemary out of the way, the doctor had sent her to the other side of Paris for some worthless medicine. As he expected, Mrs. Gibbs died soon after she left. Her body was smuggled out of the hotel to a cemetery where it was buried, in an unmarked grave. A team of workmen quickly repainted the room and replaced everything in it. The desk clerks were ordered to tell Rosemary that she was in the wrong hotel. When she insisted on seeing her room, it had become a different place, and of course her mother had vanished. All those involved were warned that they would lose their jobs if they gave away the secret. To avoid panic in the city, the police and the newspapers agreed to say nothing of the death. No police reports were ever filed, no news stories appeared, and it was as if Rosemary's mother and her room had never existed. After many months of searching, a friend, a relative, or a young woman herself would find someone who would work at a hotel and for a bribe would reveal what happened. There's a little footnote to this story, and it reads, "This legend was based on the movie So Long at the Fair. It appeared in 1950. The story also inspired two novels, one published as early as 1913, but the story was so old even then, the writer Alexander Woollcott discovered it and had been reported as a true story in England in 1911, in the London Daily Mail in the America in 1889, and it was also in the Detroit Free Press. It became known throughout America and Europe." Which is a very interesting story. It is a short story, but I thought it was interesting. Could you imagine if you were somewhere with a family member and then all of a sudden they had disappeared and no one would remember you, and no one could tell you anything, and it was as if you were going crazy and you had no idea what was going on until years later? Some of the scariest things that happen in life are scary for the oddest of reasons, and being somewhere that you're unfamiliar with, almost as if you never existed, would be truly terrifying. I hope you guys enjoyed this short story. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.